Welcome, creative friends. Today I'm going to be making Jasmin's house stairs. I was inspired by this photo that I found online. I'm starting out with a strip of cardboard to outline the area where I want the stairs and that little piece of wood that's under it, like, I don't know, sitting area. I'm using a piece of foil to get the measurements and outline of the area. Now I'm placing Jenga blocks from the dollar store to raise it. I found that by coincidence they were the same height as that piece of cardboard that I made. Now I'm just checking to see if everything fits. I'm gonna glue it down with hot glue. I cut another piece so I can put the popsicle sticks on it. Now I'm using these miter shears that I bought from Temu. Word of advice, do not buy them. They don't cut that well. Even their angles are not correct. Better buy a real expensive one. Here I'm measuring my popsicle sticks and I'm using my mat board as a guide. I'm using 2 squares and I'm going through these lines that the mat has already to mark a 45-degree angle. Here I used printer paper and drew a line so I can put my pieces of popsicle in line. But I noticed after putting them together that they weren't all the same size. And I was sure that every single one was exactly the same size like the other. So what happened? I couldn't figure it out for 2 days. I was so sure that they were all the same size. And to my surprise, I had 2 different sizes. One was almost 2 millimeters bigger than the other. For 2 nights, I've been thinking about it, and then I realized where my problem was and what I did wrong. When I was measuring half of them, I was sitting down and looking at them at one angle, and then the other half I stood up and was looking at them from a 90-degree angle from top to bottom, and that's why I had 2 different sizes. So to avoid what happened to me, always stay in one position. Either you stand or you sit. Don't do both while you're measuring. Had to learn that the hard way and took me 2 days to figure it out. So of course I have to go through this process with every single one I made. Here I'm just using wood glue to glue them onto the piece of cardstock. Or was it chipboard? Chipboard, I think. And I'm filling in all the little areas with the cut off pieces that I cut off from making them. And then I used my miniature table saw. And I didn't buy this one from Temu. I've had this for a very long time. I think I bought it like maybe 6 years ago from AliExpress or one of those other ones. And now I'm just going to sand it a little bit. Checking out the fit. Fits perfectly. Now I'm using diluted, I think it was cinnamon brown, and diluted it with water and just giving it a wash. And these are the ones that I want to put on that piece of cardboard. The steps, I think you can call them. And here I'm giving them a yellow and flesh wash. That's what I use, yellow and flesh, diluted with water. And because I have no patience, I'm drying them with my heat gun. And it was too light, so I gave it another wash of brown. Here I'm measuring the popsicles for the step one at a time because I'm not sure that it's all the same size. So better be safe than sorry. Cut them one at a time and glue them on. Of course, put glue on the sides and the bottom and the side that's going to be on the cardboard. Here I crumbled up a piece of foil like a snake and glued it all around the perimeter of the bark. This one is a flat piece. The first one was round like a snake. This one's going to be the flooring of the steps. The house is tilted on its side, okay? The screen is not upside down. Now it's time to make some cold porcelain. Now I know on the internet there's a lot of recipes to make cold porcelain, but none of them have the secret ingredient that I'm going to be putting in here that prevents the porcelain from cracking, and it helps the shrinkage to a minimum. I used 1 cup of cornstarch, 1 cup of PVA glue, and I mix them really well together. And this is when I should have put my secret ingredient with the glue, but I forgot. So I put it in the end, but it doesn't matter when I put it, as long as it's mixed thoroughly with the dough. After it's all mixed, I'm gonna be putting the 2 other ingredients. I'm using baby oil, but you can use any oil that doesn't have any color. You could add some acrylic paint if you want black or white as a base color for your dough, but I'm leaving it colorless. This dough turns yellow if you don't put any color in it, but that doesn't matter to me because I'm gonna be painting over it. Oops, I spilled a lot. You see, I'm putting it back, but this vinegar is not for cooking or eating. This is especially for my crafts. And every single item you see I'm using is also for crafting. Everything that I'm using is only for crafting. Now I'm going to be putting it in the microwave for 30 seconds. And it should come out with a crust like this for the first 30 seconds. Mix it well. You can find some lumpy spots in there. That's okay. Just mix it well and put it again for another 30 seconds. It usually takes around 4 times, depending on your microwave and on the quantity that you're making. It could be less if you're using a lesser quantity. Now here's my secret ingredient. I use 5 sheets of toilet paper and mix them with it. I should have done that in the beginning. But because toilet paper has fibers, these fibers help the dough to stay glued together instead of it just being some powder stuck together with glue, and when it starts to dry, it starts to crack. The fibers will prevent the cracking. And this is the 4th time. It looks a bit sticky, yes, but you want it to be like this. You can maybe, but you don't want it to be like really thick. To me, this is perfect. And just keep on adding a little bit of cornstarch when it's very sticky. Just don't overdo it, then you're gonna have a very stiff dough. But if you do get a stiff dough, you can add a little bit more oil to soften it up. Be careful, it's still hot. So I kneaded it for almost 5 minutes, I don't really know, until it just cooled off in my hands. Now there's a test that you can do to make sure if your dough is properly cooked. I'll just show you right now. If it sticks to your fingers, that's okay. but it should not stick in the palm of your hand. That means that the dough is perfect. If it sticks to the palm of your hands, then you need to knead it more, or maybe cook it a little bit more. Now I have some plastic wrap. I'm going to be putting some baby oil and covering the whole piece of dough with it, wrapping it up airtight, and then I'm gonna be putting it in a Ziploc bag. You could use also an airproof container, but for me, why waste my kitchen containers? I could just put it in a disposable bag, and when I'm done, bye-bye bag. You could also cook this dough on the stovetop, but I don't want to use my cooking pots, so I use the bowl. If you're gonna be doing it on a stovetop, put the heat on minimum and keep on stirring constantly for 2 to 3 minutes, or 4 depending. And now leave it for 24 hours before you even handle it. It needs to rest. And this dough can stay out of the fridge for months. It will not go bad. The vinegar is to prevent mold, but if you put any water in it, then the mold will come. We don't want that. So no water. Now I'm just testing it to see if it forms the teardrop. This is the test to know if your porcelain is good. And voila, a tear. I'm making flat strips with my porcelain dough. I'm gonna be putting it over all of this foil from the bottom and from the top. And I'm dipping my finger in the PVA glue because it's impossible to reach it with a brush. You don't need a very thick layer. I think this is like, I don't know, from 1 to 2 millimeters. And I'm just pressing it real hard onto the foil. And I keep on adding small pieces at a time until the whole stairs are covered. I'm using a little bit of baby oil on my fingers just so it won't stick a lot. When you handle it a lot, and my hands are very hot, it tends to stick to my fingers. So I'm using some oil just to prevent that stickiness. I thought I might need to wipe the oil off later on when it dries, but apparently the dough just drinks up the oil. I used the tube, the cardboard tube that was inside my foil box to keep that piece up the very top because it was getting heavy and it kept on drooping. And I'm trying to see if it's level or not, pushing the dough a little bit here and there just to try and level it. And this is after it dried like, I don't know, 12 hours. So it's dry to the touch, but it's still a little bit squishy. And I used that all night and stuffed the rest of the dough in the plastic bag just under it because it kept on also drooping with the weight. And now it's dry in the right position. I had to put some plastic wrap on top of that too so it wouldn't stick to it. I'm sorry if you're hearing all these trucks. I don't know what's going on. Got so many trucks coming. After I glued the cardboard tube, now I'm putting more of the dough around it. Always putting PVA glue to make them stick together. And I'm using my poking tool just to make some lines in it to make it look like wood. Not a lot, just a little bit. And this is how it looks after it dried. Now I painted it the base color cinnamon brown, and I'm using my finger to paint the underside because, like we said, I can't put a brush down there. And please don't make fun of the finger that I'm using, but that's the only one that would reach real far. And now I'm layering it with a little bit of watered down yellow, a little bit of watered down flesh color, and just kept on adding layers until I got to a color that I liked. And under the stairs, I poked some holes and I put toothpicks so I don't lose where the holes are, because I need to put some fairy lights in there. And I need to make it a little bit bigger to fit my fairy lights. I bunched 4 together. And I'm using electrical tape to tie them together. Later on, I'm going to be hiding all of these wires with moss and other things. But for now, they're going to stay like this. And this is how they look. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, give it a thumbs up, and comment in the comment section. That helps my channel out a lot. Thank you.